I'm opening. We have an eye, sort of a nostril, 2 teeth. One of the teeth has a small cavity. Close call, folks, but I think we got here just in time.
Presented by Maria Menounos and Kevin Undergaro. This is Anatomy of a Movie. In-depth discussions and breakdowns of various movie titles. And now that you've seen the movie, let the dissection begin.
All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for another Anatomy of a Movie. This week, Under the Knife, Big Hero 6.
Under the Knife.
I'm John Comerford, joined in the studio by Marisa Serafini.
Hello, everyone.
And Demetri Panos.
Hello, movie fans.
And Josh in the engineering booth. Thank you, Josh. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let's dive right in. So did this reach new heights? Did it die a sorry death, or were you just satisfied with your service?
I think all of the above. I feel for a nice kid movie around, especially this time of the year. It was really entertaining. It was short and sweet, and I think it really did live up to the standards of all the other big Disney movies, animated movies out there.
Demetri.
I found this movie to be highly entertaining.
Yes.
However, I felt that the first half had the most heart and the most comedic moments in it, where the second half it sort of kind of became like an Avengers movie and lost. And basically, after the first hour of the movie or so, I'm thinking, wow, this is going to be Iron Giant. This is going to be The Incredibles. And it didn't quite reach that status for me. And going in, I'd really had like the highest and best of hopes for this movie. I was thinking that Disney, again, will probably come out with an Academy Award win. Now, again, I'm not saying that I didn't like the movie. I laughed. I was entertained. I just think that it missed its mark. It reminded me of other movies that were better, that are very similar. And, you know, superhero and robots and things like that. And that had a little bit more warmth and heart to it. So, ultimately, I did like it. Wasn't the best.
Wasn't that okay? Well, I'll agree that I certainly did enjoy myself. And being that we're part of the Popcorn Talk Network, this was a very good popcorn movie. I mean, and there was lots to enjoy. I mean, it was like Marisa says, it was very entertaining. It did have heart. It did have fun to it. It certainly, my audience was laughing a lot.
Absolutely, same here.
And I don't disagree with you that it starts out one way and it has a gradual shift in tone, and you could see the Marvel influence to some degree. Although they apparently weren't part of the production as much, but you know, how could you not? Because it comes from the comic book source. So, but anyway, I liked it, and I agree with you also that you can see other. They borrowed from many movies, shall we say, is the best way we can say it, I guess.
Yeah, many movies, but you know what? That didn't bother me though, because those movies were so successful, and if they weren't, then maybe this film could have been like, hey, they tried that idea, but we made it better. But the fact that they used so many different references and put it into one, that I think made me enjoy it a little bit even more.
And we can also say, because of the audience it's really shooting for, they don't know Iron Giant. They weren't even born when Iron Giant came out.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps, but they were born, like, again, I think The Incredibles. I think The Incredibles is a better structured movie that has the laughs, that has the action, and that has the heart and message. Now, it's not saying that this movie doesn't have a great message.
It's great message.
All of that happens within the first hour to me. And it had an amazing message, I thought.
It's a terrific message. And it does, I should say, set it up, of course, in the beginning. But then when he sees his brother in Baymax's, I don't know what you call it, his archives, that brings it all back, and then you realize, oh, okay. And so it was successful in terms of that. I thought that their story arc for him was not only worthwhile in terms of its message, but I thought they structured it okay. Was it reminiscent of others? Yeah, but how many times have we seen a love story? So.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to come off as that I dislike this movie.
No, you
at
did.
all.
I'm not suggesting that either.
Again, I think that we've talked about, and I think to our detriment, we have talked about a lot of animated movies. We cover the whole spectrum. We don't ignore genres of movies. And this past year, we've had a good handful of movies, and I know, at least for me, a lot of this was building up to Big Hero 6. I loved the trailer, the marketing. The first teaser just got me. There's a huge push at Comic-Con for this movie. And, you know, I was just thinking, God, every movie is going to compare. Like, this is going to be, again, Disney's going to have a clear run for Best Animated. And now I'm thinking...
Not so much.
Warner Brothers maybe, and maybe
So what are you
Fox.
thinking is a better suit for that?
A better
What other animated movie would be a better one for you?
Well, I think right now it's Lego movies.
You think so, for sure?
To lose the best animated, I think. I
would-
mean, I think this one's going to last.
I would agree. And, you know, let's just for a second talk about the Lego movie, because that seemed completely original. And not that the storyline wasn't necessarily original, but... the fact that they used Legos to tell it, and there seemed much more originality than this one because it did borrow from so many things. I think it's got originality. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering like crazy right now, but I think it's really surpassed Big Hero 6 in its originality because I don't think it was original. There are a couple of things that were original I thought were fabulous in this movie. Big Hero 6 was definitely Baymax.
Baymax, yes.
And I like the fact that they didn't really go the very robotic, you know, clunky kind of
they absolutely went in a
look
different
that
direction.
we were expecting. And it was pretty much a big puffy marshmallow, which, you know, really helped add that element that he is a soft, caring caregiver type of robot instead of fighting.
Tadashi even says that he wants it non-threatening, so that's why it's designed the way it is.
It's funny that you say that because... you may have noticed that Carnegie Mellon University was thanked. Carnegie Mellon had a huge impact in consulting with this.
Don Hall, one of the directors, and their design crew.
And making a soft... They used the word, we wanted a soft robot.
I have to say, again, I didn't see the trailers, but about, I don't know, was it a year ago? I don't know how long
soft
ago it was.
Robotics, it's called.
I'd seen a documentary about Carnegie Mellon and their soft robotics, and I'd seen all those inflated vinyl things. And then because I didn't know the trailers. I didn't know what he looked like. So when he came on set, I was like, hey. So I actually, a year ago, I had seen this, and that's exactly where they had got their, the idea from. Who was the artist that did it, by the way?
I have
Lisa Keene was the one that came up with the idea of having a huggable robot, and that's when somewhere after that they went to the Carnegie Mellon thing where they saw the inflatable
and you had
stuff.
Paul Felix, Jin Kim, artist, Laura Leibov, lead character designer, Shi-Yun Kim. I mean, they have a league of people.
And in a weird way, it harkened back to Robbie the Robot, just because he was so roundish, and there wasn't that angular, existence that we normally see from Roman. Even Iron Giant is round, but he's metal.
He's big.
He also was influenced by Honda's Asimo.
Asimo, right?
Asimo, humanoid, the white and black robot as well.
Yeah, and I also like the face. And what did they had the face from a bell? What was it?
Yeah, there were two bells that they had.
A copper Suzu bell.
Yeah, that had the line and
between the two eyes.
Between the two eyes. Now, can I say something that was really cool? Okay, so last weekend I was at Disneyland, and Baymax is now walking around, taking pictures. Let me tell you. So, and he's stationed right at sort of kind of like when you exit Space Mountain. So you get off Space Mountain, you're going down to where the arcade, there used to be an arcade, now it looks like it's Baymax's room. And to see a life-size Baymax was awesome, but the best part of him, he blinks.
Oh,
I was
nice.
like walking by going, oh my God. And I'm like, okay, I got to get a picture next. It was,
okay. I don't know what they have planned for the Big Hero 6 ride or the Baymax ride or whatever, but wouldn't it be cool if you would actually get on the back of Baymax and then they would take you? Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be fun,
I mean, as I'm watching that sequence, I go, who doesn't want to have a flying robot?
Yeah, who doesn't? Well, again,
Iron Giant, absolutely. And it's been, even before that, they had, what was it, the Japanese one, the super robot? I can't remember the name of it.
Not Ultron.
No,
I know who you're talking about.
Okay, the kid would sit on his shoulder and stuff. Yeah. So anyway,
but just to see a life size to scale Baymax, and people were like, and
pretty good in terms of its ratio, and does he look just like him?
God, it was amazing, but it was the blinking.
Yeah, the blinking
that I was like, okay, that just brought him. Aside from, I don't want to give it away for any kids watching. There's probably someone in there. But the arms, and he was walking, and he could turn and hug. But when he blinked, that to me gave it life, and I was like,
okay. Speaking of that, now, that's what I really appreciated about this movie, because it's the only thing for me that was completely original, and I don't even know if it is, but for me it was, as I was watching it, what a great robot. And then all it has in its facial features is the one line and two eyes, and somehow they make you care about this thing. I mean, and that was just baffling to me, because how did they, it's just, and of course this Scott Adsit, is it Scott
Adsit,
yeah, he's the one that did the voice. I just thought they did a fabulous job of making you care about this creature.
I think so too, and it's also the physicality and the movement of Baymax. When he ran into an object, he would look at it like a human being, and then move around it. And,
just when he's scooching around the bed,
when he's scooching
he's
around
knocking the books off.
So this robot had humanistic elements to it.
Yeah, and it was just.
You love its innocence and its singular focus on just being selfless and wanting to help people and care. And it's like, I just thought it was amazing. That was great. It was really successful. That for me, anyway. I don't know how you guys felt about it.
I felt the same exact way. And again, just a lot of that comes within the first hour.
Oh,
of the
absolutely.
movie.
And just when he's hugging, he gives Hiro a big hug.
And even when he was. But they all, like, when we got the drunk Baymax, and he runs out of
battery.
That was really funny.
Oh, it was
but
hysterical.
And again, cleverness in an action scene. When they were running through that warehouse, where Kabuki Man was being chased by Kabuki Man, and they're going out the window.
Right.
And Baymax goes back in, and then, but they do that great slow-mo thing where he catches.
Yeah, he's a big old airbag.
But it was the way that it was filmed.
Yeah, it was nice.
It was just nicely done.
Yeah, exactly.
And
he's a protector.
You could absorb the danger and the care of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And again, it also, like when they go to the police station. Right. Now that was a big part of the trailer. In fact, it was. And it was just.
I love that they let it play out. That reminded me. That really reminded me of The Incredibles one, because they let a few of them play out, and I was like. And they just kept it going. I'm going, and then they had the patience to let it play out.
Yep. And then just like, there you go. And then when they run out and the tapes, I mean, it was that kind of cleverness where I was like going, okay, they've this is clear. They've done it again. They really hit all their points. So like, I definitely really got involved. And the other thing that I loved about it too was the character of Hiro. I actually loved all the characters. It just, because it's smarts and being a geeky nerd is good. Like this is something to
it's not something to be ridiculed. It's something to appreciate, to celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Hiro, Tadashi, Fred, Go-Go, Wasabi, and Honey Lemon, and all these characters, like they were smart kids. And to have Hiro, they open up with that great scene with the robot fighting.
It's just right there.
And
again, who doesn't want a robot that fights in a battle?
Absolutely. And robot wars here. But when Tadashi takes him to the school and he gets to witness firsthand, I mean, it's like right within that is a mini, like that's a short story where the kid who, like, I have fun with my robots, I can build them, and they can win battles. Then he goes to the school and he's opened up to comes a bigger out world. And he's like, I want to go here. And I just love that because it's such a positive message for kids, young kids, to see that they can have fun with this science.
And it's echoed throughout because his brother says, use a big brain of yours, all this stuff, and that comes through a couple times in the movie. And I think that's a great message for kids. Just try to figure, use your brain, figure it out, do something else, that kind of thing. So I thought that was great too. So that's not a message just for kids.
Yes, I think it's a message for everybody. Look at things at a different angle. If you hit a wall, you got to think outside the box.
Exactly. Or literally get out of the box.
Hang upside down and look at something. But no, it was. I just think too that it's a, the nerdiness factor, comes into play. Even when I went to school, things like that. I was never really into science as so much as I was into science fiction. But I just think that that's a very encouraging thing to put out there, that it shouldn't be a stigma. You should have fun with it. And look at the variety of kids and people that are involved with this. And
they managed to get everybody from every ethnicity.
I think it's really cool. Yeah. But even Hiro, he himself is biracial, which is for a Disney character. That's the first biracial lead character we've had.
Nice. So the other thing that was somewhat original was that they put it in San Fransokyo.
San Fransokyo.
Right.
So how did you love the production design of this, or did you hate it? What was
I think it was a very interesting twist because, you have that West meets East kind of twist. And I think that was also, just the shout out to Japanese culture and then bring it into a beautiful city such as San Francisco.
Sure. The original comic takes place in Japan, if I'm not mistaken.
So
that was their nod to put it in San Francisco.
So I think visually it was stunning. It was really cool because you can add so much different elements to make it one really individual place, even though we know it's based on
the one thing I used to live in San Francisco, so I'm very familiar with the city. And when it first came on the screen, I was going, "Hey, whoa, that looks like San Francisco." And then I was seeing all the little things that they put on. I didn't understand at first why we were melding the two. Because what are we in a futuristic land, or what? How far are we? It was a little confusing for about 10 seconds, and I went, "Who cares? It looks great."
Yeah, it looked great, and believe it or not, some of it reminded me a little bit of She. Because she did something similar with downtown Los Angeles in Japan.
It was Shanghai. And again, it's another city I'd been to, and that one was much more confusing. It's like, why are we in Shanghai all of a sudden? And I didn't. Anyway,
but how San Fransokyo came out and looked, I loved.
It's like, don't you want? I mean, it had a little bit of, a couple of other influences. Let's say, what's the one? I'm blanking on the Harrison Ford.
Blade Runner.
Thank you. Blade Runner had a little bit of that kind of thing in there.
Absolutely. Well, with the blimps.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, which I loved. And
it was great.
Yeah, and
it's lots of fun.
It was a great world to visit. It was a great world to be in.
Yeah, and San Fransokyo, in this movie, because Marvel influenced the beginning, that Marvel even told Disney, it was like, no, try to make your own location, your own world, and that's why they brought it to San Fransokyo, so they wouldn't live within the confines of Marvel.
They made a specific choice not to have it as part of the Marvel universe.
Right.
Yeah.
So. Yet there were many Marvel Easter eggs in this movie,
which I'm sure we'll talk about later. You're going to mention. Why don't you say a few of them now?
Well, Spider-Man there's an Easter egg. There's a photo in the background with a very Spider-Man character who influenced some of the superheroes' poses and moves.
Stan Lee was in a painting,
and he's actually in the movie.
Yeah.
So Stan Lee is in the painting, and then he's in the button. At the very end of the movie, which I'm glad I stayed for the credits because I was unaware of the button, but I just was sticking around for the credits.
For those of us who didn't stay through it, let us know.
Fred, I believe his name is. Did you stay for the end credits? Okay. At the very end of the movie. How about you, JT? Did you stay?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you saw. All right, so
it was a great little tease.
It's a great little. Fred is in his mansion. Right. He's actually looking at the portrait of the family portrait, and he comes across that it's a secret door.
Okay.
And opens it up, and it's almost like a superhero's lair. And he walks in, and he's all bright-eyed, and in walks behind him his dad, Stan Lee. And they have the same preference for wearing underwear. Front, back, inside out, front, back again, and they bond. And it just gave a little sneak peek as to who may be involved in the sequel, if and when that happens, which I'm sure it will. So, but it was a great button. It was just a really cool button, and I love the character of Fred.
Yeah,
Fred was really funny.
Before we get into characters, let's talk a little bit of how this came to the screen, because we've got some information. Obviously, 2009 was it, I believe, that Disney purchased, or acquired, I should say, Marvel Comics and the rights to do this. And so then they started searching for what are we going to use to adapt and turn it into other productions. And I think it was it Don Hall that was looking through the Marvel cavalcade of characters.
Yeah, and I think
he happened upon something he had never heard of, and when he just liked the title at the beginning.
Yeah, and I believe John Lasseter had been influenced as well. As trying to pick something that was within the Marvel universe, but outside of the Marvel universe.
Yes, exactly. Something obscure enough where they could create their own world
Right.
and origin story and etc.
Yeah, and I forget what the book was originally called.
I don't know. And there were two characters that were part of the comics
Right.
that aren't in
There
this
was
because they're part of another
Big Hero and
world.
Sunfire.
Yeah,
Correct.
I think so.
And
Comics.
Silver Samurai, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I believe, but yeah, and I actually personally liked how I never read the book, but obviously there's a lot of paring down and a lot of changing of the story, and I appreciate what they were able to accomplish and what they did and focused on this band of kids. I like this band of kids. They were likable, and each one. That's the other great thing too. Each one had personality.
Yeah, they had personality. They twisted things up just because I mean, let's face it. Well, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. What's Wasabi? I like him because he's so big and muscular looking, but he was probably the least likely to get involved in an altercation in any way, and the most rational and sane of them, and the neatnik and all that other stuff. I like that they twisted them all like crazy.
And originally, Wasabi was supposed to be more more zen in character, and then they found out when they were recording him that he wouldn't. Because he was so zen, he wouldn't be in that situation. So they changed him up, and especially with the actor who came in, they found a completely different personality for him.
Damon Wayans Jr.
And the other thing too to note about story is that this story had been worked upon for a good 5 years prior to it making the big screen. And the head of story, Paul Briggs, and screenwriter Robert L. Baird, they were just they would do it, tear it down. Right. They do it over and over again. And even while they were sitting, basically, they would do scenes, 20 different versions with slight variations. And they were working on this thing literally before they locked print, just to make sure everything was clear, concise, short, and sweet.
I've said this many times, but I feel that the work done in the script and story for animated features, I think, is far better than live action because they spent way more time getting it right.
Yeah, and
the storyboarding is ridiculous because their setup and pre-production is so different from live, like you were saying, because they do drawings, and then when you scrap that's hundreds of hours and hundreds of pages of drawings you're throwing away just for a simple change. Yeah,
and Paul Briggs too, the head of story here. He even goes on to admit that the first screening is always a disaster. And every time, and sometimes literally only one or two elements, let alone scenes, dialogue, etc., remain. Of course, it's back to the drawing board.
Yeah, it is back to the and even though it's quite expensive, it's much easier to go back to the drawing board when you don't have to worry about live action that's already in the can going, what, we're going to reshoot? Are you kidding?
Right. And the first script was originally 135 pages, which equals out to a little bit more than 2 hours.
It's basically a minute a page.
So the second script, they cut it down to 85.
Good, and good for them. Absolutely. Especially for this kind of movie. I mean, you don't really want to be there for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
They cut out a lot of funny moments and a lot of characters when they did the second time around.
Yeah, they had about 9 to 10 screenings, internally, just to get it right. And one of the first 4 to 5 years, 2/3 of the production focuses on the story. Yeah. It begins to take shape on other films. They finish their work. Other departments can jump on. And basically, the film was screened every few months for the first 2.5 years. Can you imagine? Yeah. And they don't stop writing and honing and tweaking until a few months before the film hits theaters.
Yeah. Because they can.
Yeah, because they're able to do it. Yeah. Well, and I know Marisa and I we've done a lot of the animated and some of these stop motion like Book of Life for example, where. And you're right, John, just bringing this back is that they're able to use a lot of storyboarding. And with today's technology, they can make animatics. Yeah. And, they're able to work on the fly sort of kind of, although there's a lot of people involved. Yeah. So. I
do think, though, that if they, I know, it's obviously... It's a different beast to work with, but if they spent more time on script and story and character development and arc and all that other stuff on live action stuff, they'd have a much better easier time as the finished product. At least that's just my assumption. Yeah. Based on having to do it. Anyway, so any more about the story? I thought it, even though it's a story we've seen many times, I think they told it well. But we've all talked about we like the message. Did you?
Go ahead. I'm sorry, because I love the message that this movie had to say.
I like how Disney itself as a franchise is now starting to go with the big twist at the end. And personally, I've seen like practically every Disney movie, so I knew that was coming. It wasn't.
Okay, you'll be the expert.
It wasn't a surprise to me that I was like, no, it can't be this Cray guy that everyone's building him up to be the villain. I was like, no, it's someone completely different. So I like how they're taking that twist. Because
I don't know that there was anything specifically new in the storyline or original and stuff, but. And I don't mind that because, again, how many times do you see a love romantic comedy? You know what's going to go on. And it doesn't matter to me if I have seen it before. As long as they tell it in a way that's different or unique or from this character's point of view, then it's just when you can see it happening that you just go, oh, boy, here it comes. And so, but this one, even though I saw some of it happening, I was okay with it. I knew that, okay, they're going to have to go through that portal. I knew he's going to use his fist to propel him back. And I knew they were not all coming home. And even though you know that, for me, it worked because I was still felt horrible that, and I even know that Hiro was going to have the computer chip or whatever
card.
Very Iron Giant like. That thing comes back. So again, we've seen it before, but for me, it worked because I don't know. I guess I bought into the relationship between Hiro and Baymax, and by extension, Tadashi.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
They're talking about the big twist, especially with the villain.
Yeah.
One thing that wasn't really clear to me after the first time I watched it was, all right, we find out why the motivation, why he wanted to get back at the main guy, Cray. But originally, when his brother dies, is because the school explodes, right?
Right.
Yes.
Now, at first, I thought Cray did that, but apparently he didn't, right?
No, he didn't do that.
It was,
or at least we don't think he did.
Well,
there's no evidence that he did.
Who blew up the school? Was it the guy who's just using it as a cover to get his hands on technology?
Well, we don't know.
Well, see, I took it as that.
You took it as...
Well, I took it as that because I thought there was a line of dialogue. You took it as
the Professor Callahan getting... Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because there was a line of dialogue about, but you killed Tadashi, and he said something like, well,
why would he blow up his own school? That's the part I couldn't get.
Well, that's the thing.
Well, here's the thing. They never specifically said how it happened.
No.
So we don't know. So it's left up to us to interpret. We can assume either that Cray actually did it to get the little buggers, little computer deals, but there's no evidence to suggest, to really put that out as evidence. There's no evidence to put that out as evidence.
Callahan was the one that did it.
But here's the thing. I don't know. I don't believe that Callahan... I think Callahan just covered himself to protect himself. I don't think he lit the school on fire. He had no reason to at that point.
Yeah. See, and I was sort of kind of... I was thinking the same way, but they sort of kind of set him up that he did that as a front so that he could take this technology and run with it, literally.
But he didn't do anything with it for the years that he had it.
He had to develop... Because
the only reason why he used it later was to get back at Cray.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The only reason why he used the technology with the mini computers was to get back at Cray.
Right.
But if he had taken it at that time and place, why he had nothing to get back to really Cray about?
Well, how many years did that take place between?
Well, I don't know. It wasn't years. I beg your pardon. Yeah. But my point is, if he was going to use it to get back at Cray, why did he take weeks or months or whatever it was? I mean, he could have used that. Boom, taken care of him, and he's out right now. The only reason why he used the technology was after his daughter was lost to him. So I don't think he specifically, firebombed his school and this event or whatever it was in order to. But
him losing his daughter, I think, took place before any of that action took place.
And then he had.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it was?
That's the way
That's what it was. Okay, well then I may have missed that.
I interpreted to believe that.
So that's why I see.
Because don't forget,
I know he was angry with him, but I didn't think he was angry enough to.
Well, I see it as we saw the security footage that he lost his daughter, and I was led to believe that took place probably months before Hiro even came with this big invention.
I can believe that. I just didn't see that.
And he has this is the weapon I've been looking for to get to go against.
And don't forget the pieces of dialogue at the science competition,
right?
And Callahan and what's the other Cray?
Cray, yeah.
They both approach Hiro.
Sure.
And Callahan's like going, don't
he's
go with
angry.
him, because he manipulates science, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, that's really not entirely true. and they really did set him up to be the baddie. I took it as Callahan. I just couldn't figure out. I mean, like, why would he? Yeah, he seemed to have this respect for Tadashi.
It just seemed.
Hiro
I know, but
it seemed.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't believe that. I don't believe even still that he would firebomb the place, because all he had to do was take the thing, take the.
Exactly. That's why when I watched the movie,
so that makes no sense.
It built up as Cray. It made sense for Cray to blow up the school,
right?
Because
I agree with
he's
you.
a computer. He wants technology, but it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. That was part of the twist.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know anybody that really didn't think it was a twist, because they were trying a little too hard to make it be Cray. It's like, okay, it's not Cray, it's got to be him.
That's what I thought. I was like, this is too obvious to be Cray.
Yeah. So, and they could have handled that with much more finesse, I guess, and based on what we're talking about here. Again, I don't think for me it didn't. At that moment, I go, okay, either Cray did it, or I didn't understand why anybody's firebombing, and that didn't make sense to me. Except it seemed like a very convenient plot point to get Tadashi to be dead.
Right.
That was in terms of, since we're talking about story for the most part, that was the thing I meant. I don't like that. It was too easy, too simplistic, and it was like, and I just thought it was, and the other thing was, this 14-year-old, 13-year-old, whatever he is, Hiro, he's a bright kid and doesn't know that his brother is at this technological place that's building these amazing things. I didn't believe that for a second.
Well, he may know that he's at like an MIT kind of a school, but he may not know what exactly he's who his friends are and what he's been working on.
I get that, but I still think, well, he's bright enough to know, if that's where he's going, they're making cool stuff there. I know what's happening at the Carnegie Mellon robotics place, and even before I saw it. So
that's because I brought it up here at the podcast, and he's not hearing our podcast.
But that, as I'm watching the movie, I go, wow, yeah, that I don't buy that for a second. Yeah. And the last thing that bothered me, and again, I still like the movie, I still enjoyed it, but I'm like, there's no way Baymax would take the kid in through the porthole into another dimension. If he's there because he wants him to be safe and healthy, I just don't see. No, he would have said, no, you can't come with me. I'll do it, because if I die, it doesn't matter. But I'm not putting you in jeopardy like that. But you have to do that in order to have them in the other dimension, so he could send. It's a very convenient. It's like Iron Giant did it so much better.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, it felt like the first half of this movie was so well thought out and perceived and played out, and it had all the right beats to make this. And it seemed like they panicked. It seemed like they almost said, "Oh my God, are people going to buy this?" Like, oh my head, we have to throw in more action. Jesus, we have to have we got to make like an Avengers kind of an act. We got to have a portal. We have to have them jumping through the portal.
Stargate portal, by the way.
And they seem to have left a lot of the heart and comedy and feeling and emotion and themes that happened like right in the outset. Sort of kind of got pushed to the wayside. So that's how it sort of felt to me.
I don't know. I would agree with that. And we'll get right back to you. So hang on to that thought, because the only reason why, for me, they carried through. I never lost sight of them. So even though they might have been secondary in those moments, I was okay with that, because I was having fun with the action.
Me too.
So, but anyway, so go ahead.
Well, I felt that like they built the audience up to have their relationship, because I mean, watching this movie, I felt all How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, I know very much.
The companionship between Toothless and Hiccup, because Toothless couldn't fly without Hiccup, literally, and I felt like Baymax couldn't fly without Hiro, and that's why you had to have those two together in the next dimension, because Baymax literally was programmed to Hiro, so I can understand, but I believed the relationship that they needed each other for that.
I just would have liked Baymax to have the argument. No, I can't take you in there because my programming won't let me, and Hiro overrides it somehow. Then it would have made sense.
Maybe, and maybe they thought it might have been too heady. I don't know. I mean, it worked.
It's a two-liner. And again, these are minor things. But I understand the criticism of a lot of people. Not a lot of people. I beg your pardon. Most people are loving this movie. But of the criticism I'm hearing, the only stuff I'm hearing is it's a little derivative of other stuff that was done better. And what was the other thing? Well, that's mostly the argument.
Yeah. No, and again, it wasn't so much like I didn't dislike it so much. It didn't bother me so much where it made me not enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
Because I did. And it was very funny at parts. The humor, I was surprised as to how often I found myself laughing.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe how much I was laughing and how much the audience was going for it.
I loved every time Hiro was trying to teach Baymax a human expression or
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that was funny. I got to bring up something that JT said just before we hit play on our podcast. And JT brought up, it reminded him of Terminator 2. And in which the Terminator, the Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator, was learning his humanity from John Connor, and they did the high five, the thumbs up, and I was like, "That's a good correlation."
Very good.
It's also kind of a reverse Terminator, because Terminator was programmed to kill, and John Connor was trying teaching him not to kill. Yeah. Whereas Baymax is
programmed to heal, and this guy programmed to
teaching him to kill.
Yeah, to destroy. So, and that was another nice, great thing, because the whole theme about when you're in pain the way he was because you're alone, and the grief that he's experiencing because of Tadashi, you need your friends around you to support you, etc. And then those friends really come to his aid when he goes over the edge. And then they are there for him at the end. So that part was a nice theme running through there.
I thought that was a very neat scene how they portrayed it, because when he takes out Tadashi's card and it's really just Hiro's card, and how the whole scene literally turned red. You know there was danger and something was not good. And I really liked how they executed it.
And again, it reminded me of Iron Giant when he goes and everything turns. He's like, holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I guess that's where I was hoping that this was going to continue. And again, you want to have the action, but you could still.
Do you think that was because it's a Marvel thing, and they figured since this is a Marvel thing, we've got to live up to at least some degree approach what Marvel's, kind of like the Avenger approach?
Well, but if you look at the Incredibles, Incredibles has some great action set.
Yeah, but that wasn't a Marvel.
Well.
I'm saying, do you think the Marvel influenced this movie because of that?
They're saying that Marvel didn't really. They according to what I'm saying, that John Lasseter said, hey,
they had a hands-off approach.
He's like, they gave it to John Lasseter, start looking for this. John Lasseter found it. Marvel then encouraged Hall to take the property and do whatever he wanted with it. So maybe because they're part of Marvel, they felt
I'm just wondering.
That set piece.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. I'm just curious.
And they looked great. I mean, they
did.
Look,
but when it started happening, didn't you go, "Wow, this is Marvel"? Did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Absolutely. I thought this is the Avengers.
Yeah.
That's watching the Avengers, and it's
the nerd version of the Avengers.
And why
I saw Stan Lee. I'm like, yep.
Yeah, and I don't know what format. I saw it in 3D, and the 3D visualization in this was great. Great depth. San Fransokyo looked awesome in 3D. What formats did you find, folks?
No, I saw it regular.
JT?
2D.
2D.
Yeah. So,
but I still enjoyed it either way.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, and I thought it was beautiful. It was, again, beautifully rendered. In fact, I will even point out a specific scene is when Baymax and Hiro were sitting on top of a blimp.
Oh, yeah.
Overlooking. Yeah. In 3D, it looked beautiful. It was amazing.
It looked beautiful in 2D.
Yeah.
And when they went in through the portal, that looked amazing, too.
Didn't look better than 3D.
I feel like 3D really helps whenever there's a flying sequence.
Yeah.
Like How to Train Your Dragon, Avatar. Whenever you do a flying sequence, that's when 3D really actually adds something.
I saw How to Train Your Dragon 3D and was phenomenal.
Yeah. Okay, now speaking of, we just mentioned the 3D. How do we like the flying sequence compared to, say, How to Train Your Dragon? Did you enjoy it?
I really enjoyed it because I enjoyed that movie, and then I also felt a little bit Harry Potter when he was riding around
Yeah, and learning what to do.
There's just I liked it because that built the because every once in a while throughout the movie you can see Baymax always checking Hiro's emotional level, and that reminds the audience, okay, he's progressing, he's getting increasingly happy, and then to have this cool flying sequence that makes him more happy. So.
I have to say, because I saw it in 2D, and in the audience during that flying sequence, I had a lot of people going, "Oh," they're overwhelmed. And then when he's on top of one of the towers of the Golden Gate Bridge, rather vertiginous angle,
that was awesome.
I had somebody right next to me going, "Okay, I can't watch." That was too much for
he would have tossed his popcorn and cookies had he seen it in 3D. No, I mean, You know, some of it even reminded me of Never-Ending Story.
Sure.
Especially flying through the clouds and all that. But no, the flying scene, who doesn't want a flying robot?
I know. I mean, they had a lot of wish fulfillment. And I thought they were very successful at it. And I wanted those little robots.
Yeah.
When he was when presenting his new invention with these little guys.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
The microbots.
I want those microbots.
That was amazing.
And
so did Callahan.
Yeah.
and tell me, so I saw it Tuesday night. The first thing I was amazed at, but then like dawns on Marblehead, I realized why. It was packed. Like the theater I went to, and it was a 7:45 show, and it was packed with family and kids. What the hell? And then I realized, I forgot it was Veterans Day. Nice. So everybody had the day off, and you know, so but the kids, both boys and girls, loved it. Like they were laughing, they were clapping.
I went an evening show at 8:30 or something. There were no kids. I'd say it was half full, and most of the audience, I'd say, well, probably 60 to 80% of them were between 18 and 30.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Pretty good.
But, yeah. 20 to 40 were.
Yeah.
How about you?
30 to 60.
I went to an early morning screening, and there was probably 5 of us in the theater. So,
how early? It was 6 a.m.?
It was
what the?
10:45 a.m. I go to the most civilian times. It's weird. But there was a guy next to me, and it was probably mid-30s, and he was laughing his head off. Yeah. So I feel like this movie can range so many
I mean, they
demographics.
I think they really were trying to hit a wide swath of people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think they hit their mark. Like, I mean, this movie...
You can see it with your family, your kids. You can absolutely
and I think there's going to be repeat viewing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to last...
And the marketing on Baymax is going to be huge.
It's going to be...
Well, all of them, but mostly Baymax.
Yeah. But the cool thing is like the cast, the core 6, you know, there's a nice balance between guys and girls.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you know, girls are strong girls who aren't fawning over guys. No, they have their own thing. They know what they're doing. So that's a big difference, too.
Yeah. And speaking of the marketing again, not only is Baymax living, breathing, walking around Disneyland parks, the gift shops have all and they even have a Baymax that has an inner projection thing in his stomach.
And they have all different versions. The Baymax that comes popping out of the box, the Baymax that has all the gear. I mean, I'm sure they've got crazy.
Now, here's another thing, too. Did you know that this movie, since we were talking about characters, it has the largest cast of characters ever in a Disney animated film?
I am stunned to hear that.
Where a usual film has 2 to 3 main characters and a handful of secondary, this film has 16 main characters, which
What are they considering main? You got the 6, We got our core 6. We have our villains. We have the aunt.
Yeah, but again, she was hilarious. But I wouldn't consider her main.
You know what it was? They're also counting. We had our kids, and then our kids in their superhero outfits that they had to design. Well, they're just saying that they had to design that.
Because for me, there were 10 major players, and that's about it.
Well, I'm talking about like creating an art, like what you have to do. Yeah,
characters,
I mean, his characters. They had to make the kids in their regular clothes, and then they had to go back and do the kids in their superhero clothes. So they're counting those as characters as well.
Even Baymax had 3 different looks. Because him was regular, and then the first greenish type of, and then
that was hysterical. The first guy with a big belly and the squeaky.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had some other cool thing. They had 701 unique background characters that they had to showcase in San Fransokyo, with over 1,000 animation cycles. That's huge. There are hundreds of thousands of possible animation combinations. This one also has the most action sequences for that Disney has in a Disney animation movie. This is 7 in total, which almost adds up to a Marvel movie. They might have a little more.
If you think about it, yeah.
But the one thing that I really found interesting on this, we were talking about this before we started. I want to talk about. We'll talk a little bit about budget.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay,
yeah.
Because the production budget was $165 million. The total budget, including hard drives and advertising, $225 million.
And by comparison,
I'm going to compare this to because we
it's up
just
against
recently
Interstellar.
talked Interstellar. Interstellar's budget was like 215 all in.
Right, yeah, 180 production.
And Frozen, because we looked up Frozen. Frozen was also like 216, 215 as well.
So it's a little bit over Frozen, but it has more action sequences, so you can kind of believe it.
Yeah, but it just seems. How does a movie... Animation was supposed to bring things in the cheap.
Yeah.
How does this budget...
I don't know. But neither did Frozen. I mean, so that seemed crazy. Is that really Disney that much? It's crazy.
Yeah, no, it just is interesting how that outbudgets Interstellar. Which used more practical effects.
Right,
and in fact, they relied less
mostly,
on CGI.
Yeah, they went really for the practical.
So it was very practical effects-ish.
So I don't know if that. What does that mean? It's outpacing live action, or what's the deal? I don't know. I found it to be it's got to be the manpower and like when
manpower.
You have
and then like all the storyboarding that they had to do over and over and over again compared to a live.
All right, but so that's the budget, but we might as well go to box office since you just talked about budgeting. So it opened.
It opened up at number one.
For the weekend, anyway.
For the weekend. Yeah, it opened up at number one for the weekend at $56.2 million. You know, we have a total gross of an estimated $75 million thus far.
Did what?
Like 47,
yeah,
48
so there's the
when all of a
difference.
sudden. Yeah, but okay, in all fairness, okay, you are talking about a movie that's 90 minutes, including a short,
right,
to a movie that's close to 3 hours. I can look up a location count, but
yeah. So you just gave us what they're earning per screening. You should do it per minute, because then it would really kick Interstellar's butt.
Oh yeah, my God, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So you know,
right there, because how many showings per day? So you know they're probably going, yeah.
So. You know, the worldwide box office right now for this is about 100 million. Listen, it got an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. Audiences love it. An average of
7.4 out of 10.
Which is what?
Okay.
Yeah, and Cinema Score audiences gave it an A. So, you know, look, and I think going into the holiday season, I just think,
right now it's the family movie to go see. What else? What else are you going to go see?
But I mean, I would also, I'd also say that it's also going to get repeat business. Like, come Thanksgiving, obviously we're going to have like Hunger Games and stuff. That's fine, but families might want to take their kids to something a little less violent, and the kids may want to go.
That was the other criticism I was trying to remember earlier, was that it's a little heavy on the violence for this kind of film. At least that's one criticism that people have had of it. I didn't really feel that, but I know that I've read that.
Interesting.
As I was preparing for this and I was reading the reviews, that was the two things that they had, was the derivative and it was a little violent.
Interesting.
I don't necessarily feel that way.
Compared to other animated movies we've seen?
Well, certainly
How to Train Your Dragon
Frozen.
I feel like the only violent, quote-unquote, scene was when Baymax went rogue. But even that didn't even end up with a death or injury.
Well, they had the whole thing at the end where the whole world might come to pieces or something. Again, I'm arguing somebody else's point because I don't necessarily agree with it. That's the only thing I can speak to with respect to that idea or that note.
Well, the other interesting thing too, and this obviously went into budget too. This is an animated movie, yet they still had a visual effects team involved. So the effects team, which included the head of Michael Kaschak, a visual effects supervisor Kyle Odermatt, and effects production supervisor Nathan Curtis, focus on stuff around them. So they describe it as anything elemental or magic. So they also use the brand new technology, which I noticed you have called Hyperion, which basically this Hyperion is light. They call it's light tracing, and it's a brand new innovative way to go in filming for San Fransokyo. One thing, if you notice, what made this movie so visually beautiful and stunning and sort of kind of Blade Runner-esque with the lights is the lighting, how things were lit.
Yeah, they had a huge lighting department.
Humongous.
It was huge. And so this gorgeous this Hyperion, it's a new rendering software and light simulator called Hyperion. So they're able to change light and how it either reflects or
refracts,
make it more translucent.
So that was something new, and they had to do things like 220,000 streetlights, tens of thousands of buildings, but all of that led to the beauty.
That and I just go, Really? You had 220,000 streetlights? You couldn't have gone with 150,000? That wouldn't have been enough?
Yeah.
I mean,
but hey, it was
would we have known
stunning.
as an audience? Would we have really known or cared? I don't know.
I wouldn't, but it's an incredible number. And if we ever go back, or if I ever go back to watch it again, now I'm going to be looking.
I would love to see in the room.
Yeah,
I go,
every single one.
but I would love to have seen. Okay, here's the shot with 150,000. Here it is with 220, and to really know, I go, yeah, no, we need them. Put them in. I'm just curious about that kind of thing because the layers and layers and hours that they do, which is fabulous. It looks great. I'm just wondering.
Is it
really?
necessary?
It is an animated thing. Is it okay that some of those in the background are? Yeah.
But also they are building Tokyo, which has a lot of lights, and San Francisco. So put them together, you're probably gonna get twice as much.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't talk about in terms of the box office is that it's second behind Frozen for Disney Animated.
Right.
In terms of its so far.
So far.
Do you think it'll catch up?
Me
it doesn't have a song.
No.
Not gonna happen.
I would not.
I agree.
It doesn't have the song.
No.
Because in Frozen you have far more repeat. You can absolutely see people going back to this, especially kids going, I want to see it again. I want to see it. I want to see this like 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Disney will market the hell out of it. Yeah. And there will be lines for Baymax, but there will not be Frozen lands. I mean, Disneyland right now and Disney World is all about the Frozen. I mean, literally. Yeah. The parades, the ice shows that now they're all Christmasified. It's all for the holiday season. There's a Frozen stage show. I don't see Big Hero 6 having that same thing. And you're right, it doesn't have the song.
No.
Yeah.
But it did. And the other thing is, it's the highest grossing one in November, surpassing Wreck-It Ralph from last year. Or whatever, 2 years ago, excuse me. So, I mean, it's certainly... And I thought the international information was pretty cool, too. It's seen 5 million in Russia, which apparently is a huge weekend in Russia, which is great, but it was first in a bunch of different places. So, I mean, what is it? Internationally, was it 130 million?
At last check, it was estimated around 100 million. So that's not including today's box office. So, but 100 mil. But it's you can see how it's going to do really well, and it'll do really well over in Asia. I don't mean this in a bad way. Please don't misunderstand.
No, but we have the Asian culture integrated into it.
It's just
so
like the kaiju
for a specific
movies.
reason. That's kind of why I was going. Okay, they want a wide swath. They want to get the 4 corner? What is it? 4
quadrants.
4 quadrants. Thank you. I'm losing my words today. So 4 quadrants. Absolutely, and I think it did. I mean, everybody that I saw, they liked it.
And like there's enough humor for adults and for the kids, and at the same time, there's enough humor for the both to share.
Absolutely,
there isn't something that exactly, and it's not necessarily designed just for the kids.
Everybody's laughing at that.
No.
And then people were bawling their eyes out all around me. I shouldn't say bawling. They were crying. They weren't bawling their eyes out, but they were crying all around me. And I'm going, and it was really touching them.
Interesting.
And of all ages, by the way. I was specifically taking note and go, okay, all right, let's get to people.
Yeah. No, again,
it was effective.
It has the heart, and it does have the message with the Japanese tradition with the names, and we had Tadashi, who means. I have here. Tadashi means loyal, faithful, and correct, and then hero, that means generous, but if you translate it to the English version of hero, then you have your hero. Protagonist hero. Right. So they even have like
what does Go Go mean?
The Japanese.
well, it's funny that you mentioned Go Go because Go Go, believe it or not, when I was doing research, I found that Go-Go is actually meant was taking a page from Clint Eastwood.
What?
Yep. And Go-Go is the movie's Clint Eastwood. Mainly, Parrish explained, the animators wanted to translate Eastwood's 1,000-yard stare to Go-Go.
Interesting.
But Eastwood's tough Western heroes also inspired Go-Go's persistent bubblegum chewing. The animators asked, what is the Disney equivalent of blowing smoke in someone's face? And it was Go-Go.
There it is. Yeah.
And another cool thing that I learned
is
by
Jamie Chung.
Jamie Chung, she was great. Go-Go
She's been here
awesome.
to the studios, actually.
Very nice. How come she should be here right now?
She's very nice.
So, for Fred's Fred's suit was based a kaiju. He's a kaiju, so you know, a lot of Pacific Rim.
Yeah, that was, well, kaiju influences. But the thing I was wondering
robots
is,
and kaiju.
how, you know, I understood how you know, she got Go-Go got her wheels. I understood how Honey Lemon got her stuff, but how the heck did they make him be a fire-breathing dragon? Whatever the heck he was. Like, what? What was that? How did that happen?
Capabilities.
Yeah, no, that part I got, but all of a sudden he's this thing which shoots fire from his mouth. That wasn't anywhere in. No. It was like, oh, all right,
but you know what's sort of kind of cool about his let's call it costume, right? They actually brought in costumers from Disneyland, Disney World, who make the character costumes.
Sure.
They came on to consult to talk about
how they
what
can make
it might be
easier for real costumes.
Well, yeah, what it might be made of, how much it might weigh, and it gave the animators a feel as to how they can make it and how they can move in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I thought that was very fascinating. I wanted to go on something that you had brought up earlier, and I think it's extremely important because I did not realize that the scope of this. You talked about this being the first Disney animation that presented a biracial character within its feature-length animated films. Now, I know this article that I found, and I'll share the link. It doesn't seem like it may be a big idea, but to this author of this article, their daughter is a biracial person, and she actually was drawn to that, the power that it represents to her generation. And the author goes on to say, and I had no idea, but catch this, the progressive portrait of a racially blended family like the one making center stage in Big Hero 6 didn't happen overnight. Prior to just 14 years ago, and that's also the same age of our young hero, apparently, biracial and multiracial individuals were not allowed to assert their blended two or more racially ethnic backgrounds on U.S. Census. 14 years ago. Like, that's like crazy. Like,
it's 2000.
Well, yeah. So, but it wasn't even on the census. And although multiracial people have been around for generations, our population was forced to check only one box. Films like Big Hero 6, according to this author, and I agree, offer an opportunity for all children and families to identify with each other and learn about their cultural differences. And that, to me, again, I didn't recognize it when watching after I've read the article, but that's just another, that's a nice layer. Like, you know, you can peel that layer off, you know, that onion, and I just think it's really cool that somebody was able to point that out. And you can get yet another positive message from an animated movie. So, yeah, I really like that you would mention that too, but I had no idea. Only 14 years ago.
It's shocking only because you think it would have happened far sooner.
You would think.
Yeah, because I didn't even, it didn't even enter my mind as I was watching it. It had no bearing on whether, it just was, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it should be. It shouldn't have any bearing, but whatever. All right.
That's very neat.
Thank you for bringing that up. All right. Well, we haven't talked directing or acting. We should do that because we have the dual directors, or co-directors, I should say. What did you guys feel about the movie in terms of its direction and how they put the team together, and what you thought about it?
I liked how they had a bigger cast because we had the main hero, and then but how, because he's living with his aunt, so he is an orphan, and then losing his next to his more kin, losing his son. So, and then adding the friends, I thought it was really cool. And then bringing all those personalities out of him, and then like surrounded by all these fun already outside personalities. And then you can hear like all the characters say, "I wanted this and this and this," and you know, just when it comes to Fred, he talked about making a suit, a mascot suit, by fire breathing. Like, okay, we're gonna see that. So like throughout the film, they set up so many different things that you knew were gonna happen, and I thought it was very clear cut. I picked it up, and for a kids film, for that adults can enjoy, it was very simple to follow.
Absolutely, and I think the directing was, I think the directing was actually really well done. I mean, it was very well paced. They chose their shots and what they do. And again, this goes back to, well, Jesus, they took 5 years to make sure that every angle shot and was near perfect. And the movie looked beautiful. Even the action scenes, which again for me sort of kind of derailed certain things, but they were filmed in a way that was exhilarating, and it was really well paced, and I was like, this is a great action scene. So I thought, and the direction also balanced that heart and warmth and comedy.
I thought they handled that balance pretty well. I was fine with it. I was absolutely fine with that. Yeah, and the pacing. I thought the pacing was nice too. I thought it was story well told in 85 minutes that they told it. And in 85 minutes, you're not always going to get the deepest storyline, but that's okay. I mean, I don't know that you can go deeper. And first of all, remember your audience, your target audience. Anyway. But there was enough there for adults to hang on to and go, not only am I happy and I'm enjoying this movie, I'm glad my kid's getting that message.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really thought that they did a great job in picking their cast. Outside of T.J. Miller, I really couldn't recognize anybody else's voice. And I'm not saying that took
Damon Wayans Jr., Jamie Crumb. I'm going, this is great. I love this. T.J. Miller, nice. I was having a good time.
I didn't really realize Scott Adsit was Baymax.
Yeah, that one I didn't even think about. I just went, it's a computer voice.
Yeah. It's fun. I don't know if you've seen, but on YouTube there's bunch of different behind the scenes clips of each of the actors saying particular lines. It's really fun how they interact and how even the directors were there just giving them, this is your emotion that you're feeling because you just found out this information, or this is how your character would react in this situation. So even the directors were constantly there in the same room right next to them, giving them directions on how to convey their emotions.
Yeah, and I thought it was quote unquote cast well. Okay, the other voice that I recognized was James Cromwell.
Yeah.
But I
that'll
thought
do,
that
pig.
That'll do, pig. I think they did a really good job in picking the voices, because none of them took me out of the movie going experience.
It was nice as they were clear and distinct. I'm not familiar with everybody's work. I didn't know Jamie. I didn't know Genesis and everything.
Didn't know Maya Rudolph.
Yeah. Well, you did.
Aunt Cass.
Yeah.
I did recognize her, but I'm not familiar with it. But I like that they were distinct voices, and it's easy to pick up. And I thought they handled the material well.
Yeah, and to your point as well, Marisa, too, I think that what the directors did was made them each individual characters through their voices. So, okay, Jamie Chung, this is you. Okay, no, I want this to sound more like this. And, they really did direct the process for how these characters are going to live, breathe, and sound. So they gave them a great life. And I really liked the characters, and I believed in them.
Yeah. For a good example was Wasabi. When the directors were giving Damon Wayans Jr. directions, it was that particular moment where Wasabi calls out to the villain and be like, hey, and then he's automatically scared.
Right.
And they were giving him directions like, right now your character's full of confidence and it's like, you can take on the world. But then when he just, in the moment of realization that what he just did, he wants to run away scared. He's that type of person. So that's how you would say your line.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah. And everybody nailed it. Everybody gave the right balance of life to each of their characters.
This is the first time for Ryan, wasn't it?
For
Hiro?
Isn't
this his first gig?
It's not his first gig, but for voice, I think so. Don't quote me. But
he was great because
he's big and in the kids world and from his Nickelodeon show.
Yeah.
But it was nice because he had something underneath the snarkiness, which made you, because otherwise you just want to slap the kid. But
yeah,
you're right. I agree.
But he had something behind that, so that was nice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was a good group of kids. Something that if you want to talk about it, because I always find this fun, in the Disney movies, there's always some semblance of an Easter egg. This one has at least 15.
Wow, okay.
One of them, I'm going to start from 15 and go down. The Tangled filmmakers are wanted men. The police station, the filmmakers of Tangled, their pictures are wanted in the back of the thing.
They were involved, of course. The filmmakers were involved in Tangled, or one of them.
Tangled filmmakers, yeah.
Okay.
Let's see.
What's the next? That's all right.
Nathan, Brian Howard and Nathan Greeno. Then we already talked about Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Baymax versus Prince Hans. Prince Hans is actually one of the statues in the thing, so that's pretty cool. Bolt, the beloved family pet, is he's a little he's in where is he here? A little. Pause the trailer and you can see the relation cop. There's Esther, the animal shelter guard from Disney's Bolt, and then Bolt himself. No, I gotta go to the next.
No, that's fine. That's good.
But I love how they do all this stuff. Most Wanted, Prince Hans is also on the Most Wanted board. And here's Spider-Man, amazing Spider-Man influence. The way that, we'll call him Kabuki Man. You know, he's very... the way he's animated and the way Spider-Man, like this is an iconic pose. Yep. So
Kabuki Man was crazy.
Kabuki Man was great.
He was really creepy.
Cool.
I was like, oh, I would not want to be chased by him.
Yeah, and it would remind me that, you know, because when the little tiny microbots were raising him up and everything.
Yeah.
Regardless that it's Kabuki, didn't that remind you of Maleficent when she gets? I mean, it was harkens back to that whole thing.
And again, the way he moved, it reminded me of Silver Surfer.
Sure.
The way he just.
And again, I'll say because he was a menacing villain.
Yeah.
And I wished he would have been somebody else. Almost.
Oh, at the end.
You know,
Scooby-Doo, like, hey,
exactly. Yeah. Now, here's a cool one. You would have to be a Disney freak to catch this one. Cop's relation to Cruella de Vil or Disney writer. The same scene, the cop, where the tangled is Officer Gerson could very well be related to Betty Lou Gerson, who voiced Cruella de Vil in 1961 animated film's 101 Dalmatian. It could also stand to reason, and it's far more likely, the name is reference to Daniel Gerson, who penned the screenplay for Big Hero 6.
Okay, that's deep. That's very meta Disney.
Okay, very meta Disney.
We'll put the link down below.
Wreck-It Ralph is coming soon in one of the marquees.
Oh, wow.
Wreck-It Ralph is coming soon.
I didn't see any of these, man. Which is why you got to go back and see it again.
There's a Wreck-It Ralph action figure in the background in Hero's thing, as well as Mrs. Fantastic. Chicken Little's Easter eggs are there throughout. Fred's collection of action figures.
I noticed that. I noticed the Incredibles were in there.
Yep, the Miss Incredible action post.
I was thinking, when the first time I heard and saw Mrs. Aunt Cass, I was thinking Mrs. Incredible. The way she was drawn and everything.
And How to Train Your Mascot. T.J. Miller voices the comic relief character in Big Hero 6. His dragon mascot, resemblance to the dragon Barf that he flies. Wreck-It Ralph action figure. I mean, this is what Disney does. Oh, I even saw mouse ears. That's a hidden Mickeys. Disney loves to put hidden Mickeys, and there was on the pavement.
Yeah. I didn't see any of them. But that's okay.
Hidden Mickeys.
You'll have to send me that link. That's fine.
All right, well, we're running short. Any last thoughts? Anything we didn't cover that you want to get to?
Yeah, and it was a fun film, and the cool thing about this film, it was pretty timeless.
Right.
You can watch this movie any time of the year and still enjoy it.
And where will it rank for you in terms of an animated movie? Is it way up there in the top 10? Is it like middling?
Maybe not, probably not in the top 10, but definitely a memorable film to watch because there are so many other animated films that it pulled from that I enjoyed more than this one.
Well, I have this is one little bit of trivia about Baymax.
Okay.
Putting him to scale. Baymax is supposed to be 6 feet tall and 75 pounds. Until Hiro mechs him out. Yeah. Baymax in his super suit is more than 7 feet tall and can lift 1,000 pounds.
Nice.
I think that's pretty cool.
It's like an ant.
Where do I rate this? I rate this as it's a highly entertaining film. I'll probably buy it on Blu-ray. It's tough for me to rate. Again, I didn't think it was better than Iron Giant and or The Incredibles. Yeah, and this seems to be just putting those movies together in a sense. Yeah. But nonetheless, I laughed a lot and it had that heart. And how can you not love Baymax? Like when I go to Disney,
there is like, well, they did their job with Baymax for sure because that's it's gonna sell huge. But what it did for the movie was this if you want originality, this is something you haven't really seen. Right. For me. The way he looks, the way he acts, and the interplay and interrelationship he has with people.
Well, now I am now for sure going to try to go out of my way to have my picture taken with me. Because I think that's going to be the coolest thing.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. Make sure you get him blinking.
That's hard to get your blink. I was just amazed that he blinks. It's like that's like the awesomest thing ever for this.
All right, that's it for us. Where can they find you, Marisa?
Everyone can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV. And you can follow all of us here at Anatomy of a Movie on anatomyofmovie.com.
As part of the Popcorn Talk Network.
Exactly.
And you can find me here at Anatomy of a Movie and Twitter at DMovies1701.
Okay, and the only place you can find me is here for the next time we bring you another Anatomy of a Movie. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the rest of the Anatomy of a Movie staff, we would like to thank you for listening and subscribing to the show. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email or tweet us. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been Anatomy of a Movie.